Good evening. My name is Michael Pica, and as a member of the Info 220 class, I am here to take part in the 3 to 5 minute ethics video presentation that we're supposed to give and upload to YouTube. My decision to look at a case has been on case 3, which involves privacy violations. So, to start, I'll give a quick overview of what the case says. I will say what I believe are the possible negative side effects of the action that was taken, and any steps that should be taken as far as discipline might be concerned moving forward with the company. So, in privacy violation, using a terminal, an employee breaks a security code and reviews confidential company salaries of corporate executives. No use is made of the information. When caught, the employee says, "I was just curious." How would you judge the employee's behavior? And so, in my opinion, the behavior is, absolutely inexcusable. Bypassing a security code in a computer system, and gaining access that you shouldn't normally be granted is the virtual equivalent of, breaking and entering into, that same executive office's safe, or breaking and entering a home. You're gaining unwarranted access. And while he says, "I was just curious," that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no harm in him knowing this information. There's no harm that could come from it, even if he didn't plan on doing anything with it, with a negative, impact. He could take that information with him home from work and, share it with a good friend or a family member, and they could take that information, view it as, say, those salaries are too high for their liking. They will expose that and try to shed some negative light on the company as an indirect consequence of the fact that, an innocent mind and curious mind gained, gained access to this information through an illegal or a manner that is against the rules. And so, while his intentions may not have been harmful or sinister, they still have potential downside risk for the company. And so, looking forward, I would say that there should be some discipline that should be brought upon this person, and that would be more up to the company. But in my opinion, I would say that it's important that if it's a entry-level employee, they're brought before their direct report or their manager. And if it's at the, manager level, that they're brought before the executives and they are looked at, under a watchful eye, and they're evaluated with extreme scrutiny to determine whether or not there is any more trust that remains in this employee, and whether or not they can remain a part of the team at this company, or if they deserve to be terminated and ultimately thrown back out into the world to try and find a job with the tag of, I looked at information I shouldn't have when I knew that I shouldn't have done it. And so this is kind of a lesson that goes to show, what we do when nobody's watching is still important. Even if we don't think we'll get caught, or even if we don't plan on doing anything negative with the information, it's still important to remain loyal to the rules of the company that are, affording us the opportunity to work for them. And also from an objective standpoint as human beings, if we were meant to have access to that information, we would have access to that information. And, gaining unwarranted, access to that salary information is not a part of, the plan that the company had set out for that employee. And so, objectively, it's just not the right manner to go about receiving that information. I mean, there are other avenues. He could have requested a meeting with the executives to talk about salaries. He could have requested, data on salaries, just, out of curiosity. But unfortunately, he chose another method. And in my opinion, he should suffer the consequences. Thank you very much. Have a good night.